contract and legal requirement every single time we appear on camera. Oh, there we go. It's coming in with the flex. It's has to be done every single time. It just keeping the lawyers happy. And so we are here with the man, the co-host, the co-founder, the co-breather of air on this in this very virtual room. It is none other than the master of disaster, the king of sting, the Count of Monte Cristo. It is your friend and mine, the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year award, the illustrious award held by the illustrious man with the illustrious beard. It is none other than Dave Stockbridge. Welcome to your own show.
Well, thank you very much for that very warm welcome. As always, Hollywood Matt Connelly. It is arm wrestling tonight. It is your 5 night a week, half an hour. Catch up on all things arm wrestling, and catching up tonight with the man on screen. Josh Barker is a young man that has been doing amazing things in the world of arm wrestling over the last 8 years. He is just 26 years old, and yet it feels like he's been around the sport forever. He has been the man to beat in the Oceanic region at 70 kilos for many, many years now. And he tells us he's just crept a little bit closer to 80 kilos and is in his biggest and baddest shape ever. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Josh Barker.
Hey guys, how are we?
Very, very well, Josh. So tell us, it has been, like I say, you're a young man, yet you've been one of the mainstays of the sport. And when we were planning AWE1 a few years ago, your name was in the mix instantaneously. As soon as we were thinking, who could make an impact, who's a rising star, who's someone we want to showcase to the world, Josh Barker's name came up. And mate, you've been unassailable at 70 kilos for a long time now, and in one of your most recent AWE appearances, literally had to take on somebody twice your weight. Is this why you've put on a bit of size now, to try and find a little bit more competition in the heavier weight categories?
Yeah, I think so. Power comes with size, so yeah.
And you are looking in great form. I saw a picture of you on Instagram just recently, and you look like an IFBB pro. It is absolutely amazing to think that somehow you are under 80 kilograms. So tell us a little bit about your journey in arm wrestling so far. Started young. You were competing nice and early. Tell us a little bit about your accomplishments in the sport so far.
Started in 2017. I was good at it in school, so I thought I'd give it a go. With the Illawarra Immortals, Shannon Michaels got me into it. Thought because I had big biceps, I'd be really, undefeated. And then I quickly learned that, 60, 50 kilo dudes up at Sydney Spartans and stuff were playing with me. And then I had to figure out how they were able to do this with such ease, and I was just whipped.
Wow! So you've been weight training for a while. Then you already had some of the physicality.
Yeah, weight training. Yeah, since I don't even know, year 11 in school, year 10.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so you have this introduction to arm wrestling. How long before you're competing?
I pretty much competed straight away. Oz from Sydney Spartans said that's the best way, competing is how you get good at arm wrestling, win or lose, and then just kept going until I stopped losing.
Yeah. And do you remember that first big? Do you remember that first loss?
Yeah, my first comp, so I got obliterated. I had like Ryan Bowen or something, my first match, first comp, so...
Easy first round.
That's not helpful. And when did you start enjoying success on the table and really get that sense that, hey, this is not just a sport I love, but it's a sport I may be able to be world class at?
It took a couple of years of dedicated training, arm wrestling specifics, the right people around me. Yeah, not easy, but it gets easier.
And tell us a little bit about the Sydney Spartans, the culture there, and what's kept you there through thick and thin, because arm wrestling really is a bit of a roller coaster, and especially when you're competing at a really high level. And of course the highs are very high, but the lows, that's really when you need your club around you.
Yeah, the community in arm wrestling is like, yeah, I've done many other sports, and the community in arm wrestling is like, yeah, none. It's like nothing else. Like the people are really supportive. Everyone is there for you. Like it's incredible.
And so, what was your first big tournament win?
It was actually, I think it was nationals in 2019 or 2018. I lost my first year like completely, and then my second year in the 80s came like top 5 or something, and then I went down to the 70s, and I haven't lost a match ever since. I'm a right arm.
Incredible, incredible. And so you kept this winning streak going right up until recently, and then a little controversy at your last nationals appearance. You walked away with the title, but then shortly thereafter found yourself in the midst of a ban.
Yep, that's correct. Ban's almost over, so I've done my time. Now I can get back out there and do what I do best.
And of course, you know, that's very much been an amateur ban, and it hasn't affected your ability to appear in AWE events. And you've certainly continued to prove to the world that you are world class. But as you mentioned, for those, I guess, tournaments or promotions that might be a little more sensitive to banned athletes, you are coming out of that. And it seems like you're coming out of that at exactly the time where you're coming into your best form ever.
Yeah, I've timed it well, man. Josh Barker's comeback.
And was that something you've been consciously doing, or you know, after the ban, I can imagine it'd be easy to get a bit despondent and feel like, you know, I've dedicated so much to the sport, and now I've got to kind of sit it out for a little bit. How did you feel about it, and how did you bounce back to the top level really quickly?
I feel like you guys have a part to like play in that, because you guys, if I had no competition, no comps, nothing going on, like I probably would have got demotivated. But, you know, I had some super matches at Sydney. You guys invited me to compete. So it gave me something to do throughout the 3 years, kept me motivated, kept me wanting to train, stay in good form. So I thank you guys for that.
Well, it's been great to see you continue to develop over those years, because you are still so young in the sport, and you've been competing for so long, and we see that the best guys in the sport have such longevity. They're in the sport for 4 and 5 decades. And so we saw
Yeah.
Hollywood Don Underwood, competing against Rickard Borman in New York just last night. And so it's a sport that has longevity. So to get over this little hiccup and to be in great form, I guess what's burning what's fueling the fire in the belly at the moment? What's keeping you focused on training? Is it that idea that end of the year other opportunities might open up, or have you got some matches already planned?
I've got a super match with Gary now this coming Wednesday.
Okay, tell us a bit about that.
Well, he's been like pretty dominant at all the nationals and state level tournaments and stuff. So I thought he kind of called me out. So yeah, I thought that'd be a good match. And
Awesome.
then I've got some matches after the ban's up. But there's certain athletes that just don't want to, I don't know how to say this, risk versus me while I'm still sanctioned. So I have to wait till
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that is a concern, and I guess that cloud lifts at the end of this year. So you've got a lot to look forward to as we approach the end of 2025. And I guess are you thinking now that knowing now, I guess, over the last few years how the sport has developed and how there is more money coming into the sport, and how there are now opportunities now for athletes from Australia to compete internationally. Do you feel that's a direction that you would ultimately like to go in? Could you see yourself going pro in the sport of arm wrestling?
That would be dream come true. Starting at like something like Knuckles Up, working my way up to East First West. That'll be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely amazing, and it's fantastic to see a pathway for athletes like yourself, Josh, who are showing such promise and potential at a regional level, and to be able to take that step forward and showcase your skills internationally is a fantastic aspiration. And we're really hopeful as well that the money starts flowing into the sport to the degree that it can support athletes like you in achieving that goal of becoming pro, and not having to worry about the day job and being able to dedicate yourself to the sport in the way that other athletes can in the football codes and cricket and baseball, and I guess all of those mainstream sports that people are familiar with, where there's a lot of money coming into those sports. So perhaps now with a few comments going on.
Josh has lost watching his own match here.
He's bewitched.
How good's the camera quality?
Yeah, absolutely.
Insane.
So
we can see you'd spaced out completely. You're
sorry, sorry guys. I saw it. Yeah, that's awesome. Press on press. I've watched it quite a few times, to be honest.
Yeah, you do watch back your matches then?
Yeah, it's awesome to see. Learning curves, and it's just cool seeing all the blood on the table and stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you'd had surgery 2 days prior to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd only just recently had an operation just leading up into this event, and you were still, you hadn't completely healed. The wound was still very, very, very fresh.
Yeah, I had my stitches that were in my elbow, and they didn't last long.
And did your doctor know you were about to perform on the biggest arm wrestling stage in the Southern Hemisphere at the Adelaide Oval, or did you just keep that on the down low?
Yeah, I told him about it. I was meant to have 6 months off, but I couldn't miss it, man.
So you were meant to have 6 months off. How long did between your operation and this event?
It was like 3 days, 72 hours after I got off anesthetics.
It's Tim wiping the blood off of the table.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah, I gotta play that back. Yeah. So there is Josh is bleeding all over the table at this point.
And it's okay. Thomas Fitzy has now been tested of all STDs. He's completely fine.
Yeah.
Look, when he's elevated, you see the blood on it. Hang on, I'll try to pause it. So we get where is it? Oh, yeah, look at that. Tim's living and look at the blood that's pouring out. He's wiping it up.
Wow.
Oh man. And this
table's worth a lot of money now.
And of course, Thomas Fitzy came all the way from New Zealand for this matchup, because it is becoming increasingly difficult to find athletes locally who can compete at your level, but almost impossible to find anybody at your weight. Has that proven to be a frustration over recent years?
Yeah, at 70 kilos, yeah. I feel like, I'm untouched in Australia. Other people have their thoughts, but yeah, I feel like I'm untouched.
Have you had anybody be able to make comparisons with any other world-class 70-kilo guys that give you an inkling as to where you might sit on in the global rankings if given the opportunity?
Well, do we have anyone that's competed that we overseas that has versed like a 70, 80 kilo guy?
No, I don't think so. That's what I was keen to see, if you perhaps had any intel or any ideas about are there any guys that are close to your weight category that you now have your eye on as you're coming out of the ban in 2025, and wouldn't mind meeting across the table in late 25, 26 if you get the chance?
I think Hunter Noss from America. Have you heard of him?
Yeah,
I have.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yes, he's a very charismatic showman, super aggressive on the table, and everyone loves to see him. He is actually a very nice, humble man off of the table, but on the table he is an absolute weapon. And he would be incredibly well. It would be a fantastic match, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it gives me a chance to work my way up. You can't start at the top, so like you can start with the pros and work you out to the elites. That'll be like the game plan.
Yeah, well, he's similar in terms of his aggressive style, a huge, big, powerful hit off the start, the same as Josh, and they could work out very much like the Thomas Fitzy match, where it was who's going to put their frame on the line the most.
And Josh, we're just commenting off here. You watched Knuckles Up. What are your thoughts having seen Knuckles Up over the Australia Day long weekend?
Production's really good. Matches are really good. They treat their athletes Yeah, awesome. They all got like a bag. I love how they pick them up from the airport. It's same as what you guys do. It's really incredible. It'd be a mad experience.
We don't really have a bag, but we could organise maybe a lunchbox or something maybe next time.
Yeah,
or a little calico bag from Coles or Woolworths maybe.
We don't slow down either when we drop you off at the airport. You've just got to dive roll out. If you won your match, we'll slow down a little bit. But if you didn't, so this match we're having a look at Sam Burnett, who just happened to. He wasn't originally scheduled to have a match or anything like that, but he came along to check out the card, and you had won your match prior to this against Tyson Bryce, and then you and Sam have had a rich history of matches together, and it was like, well, if you're in the same room and if you want to do it, it's like, Sam, do you want to have a match with Josh? And it's like, yeah, okay. So sure, all right, let's do it. And I mean, it was a bit of back and forth. I don't remember the exact result, but I know that you won a round at least. I think it was Sam's win in the end, but he had just come off of a match against Tyson as well. But who
was twice your weight. So that's the other factor.
Well, Benjamin Fouché, I think it says we should have a lightweight derby, Australia versus New Zealand. I reckon New Zealand might take it for the lightweights.
If we have a derby or a derby, we should be wearing Guernseys or jerseys.
Just say it.
You're in New South Wales. Do you say Guernsey or Jersey?
Jersey.
It's Jersey. We would always say Guernsey.
Yeah, we say Guernsey. Yeah.
I haven't heard of that. Yeah, Jersey for sure.
Yeah. So maybe we'll hit some of the comments there. We've got some of the familiar names and even some AWE superstars in the chat.
That's right, absolutely. We've flipped this around here. So we've got Phil Woody from the UK, who always is a big fan of the AWE, and we're a big fan of him. He does a tremendous job over in the UK, helping set up as many events as he can, and always volunteering with a friendly face. He says he's finally caught alive. Good evening, lads. Good evening to you, Phil. We've got Alex McKinnon, the dragster, who was on the show last week or the week before and did a tremendous performance at AWE Grand Prix 2, and we're hoping to see him back on the table soon as well, coming back from that elbow injury.
Maybe a matchup with Tyler Harrison's on the cards, from what I understand from the rumour mill.
That's right. That would be fantastic. We've got Marcel Prinz, who just asked about why did Josh get banned. Enjoying all the lives. Thanks, guys. It was just it was a banned substance in a drug test, I believe, was the issue.
That's the one.
Yeah. We've got Siren, which is a French, who is one of the members of the SA Titans Arm Wrestling Club. She says hello, and a pink hand waving is the description of the emoji. Sometimes it depends on where they're posting from as to whether we get the actual emoji or we get a description of the emoji. I like the descriptions of the emojis because they're a little bit sillier. And we've got Benjamin Fouché, who was asking about New Zealand versus Australia, which we always like to see. That it's always fun to have that patriotic battle between across the Tasman Sea, and New Zealand has some tremendous pullers over there, and we've had the pleasure of having recently hosted Charles Fury, and we always enjoyed having Mata Waringi head to Morris, and we also had Thomas Fitzy come over too, and he was in that match up against Josh Barker.
And of course, Ashley Hueter, and we've been talking to Raymond there in New Caledonia, and it seems that arm wrestling's growing right across the region, which is making things very, very exciting. We actually opened up a bit of a chat with some of the other guys regionally, and there looks like there's a great enthusiasm for events as we move forward, and it does look like the guys in the Pacific region are working to ensure that arm wrestling is part of the Pacific Games. So the Pacific Games is a little bit like the Olympics, but just for the Pacific Islander nations. And in some of the sports, they'll also have Australians and New Zealanders compete, but for the most part, they try to keep it to the smaller states within the Pacific region. But with arm wrestling, as it's not at the level where it's being played right across all of those islands and or not organised to a high degree. They need 8 teams, and so they're working very hard in order to make arm wrestling one of those sports that features at the Pacific Games, and I think that's 2026. And so yeah, big things happening in the region as we move forward over the next year or two.
Well, I believe somebody's ban will be ended by that point.
From what I understand, that is indeed the case, and from it looks good in a grass skirt as well. So I think the future looks bright.
I wasn't banned. We were very disappointed we didn't get to see the Rahul Panika match for Josh that was supposed to happen for AWE 3, the pay-per-view event, which ended up we shelved that idea when 3 of the international people we invited were unable to secure a visa. So yeah, unfortunately we weren't able to go ahead with that, but it would have been a tremendous match, and I know Mr. Panika has a huge following, and it would have been a tremendous leg up to get you worldwide exposure.
Yeah, no, and if things were kind of level, I would have suggested a pose down at the end of that. Very good physiques there. I don't know. I think you would have had him though, especially in your current form.
Dude, the goggles would have won that.
It is interesting though, because with arm wrestling, with all the money being in the heavyweights and the super heavyweights, that's where the attention seems to be for most of these cards. Although we are seeing women work their way into it as well, and the occasional lighter weight categories being showcased also. The reality is that there's not as much money with the guys that are under 90 kilos, but I actually see it as probably the most aesthetically pleasing of the athletes, because the guys that are 75, 85 kilos, they're in shape, they're lean, they look good. I kind of feel like there's great potential commercially for those guys that are in that weight category to have more, have a broader appeal perhaps than what just the gigantic mass monsters that are 40 odd years old might have. Just a completely different appeal.
Yeah, I feel that too, especially with my type of nerdy look. I feel like if you cover up, you wouldn't expect me to have the physique that I have, and it shocks people when I take my shirt off.
Yeah, yeah, and that seems to be the case with a lot of the guys that are under 80 kilos. They've got these real sleeper builds, and then once the shirt comes off, there's Rahul Panika, who is a great example of exactly that. You have no idea that that's what's lying under that PPL shirt. Yeah, the promo was good too. Oh, it was. It got me excited. We had Pravin Debus just on the podcast, maybe even our last episode, and talking about the sport's popularity in that part of the world. Do you now see that arm wrestling might be one of those sports that can take you around the world?
Question for me.
Yeah, Josh. Yeah, do you reckon arm wrestling can take you around the world?
Little stumps, yeah.
Yeah.
You lost again. I should stop putting these matches
we've lost
on.
Josh to
I picked
images of himself.
That's right.
You mean like if you're higher up in the you get opportunities and stuff, and you can go to Turkey, America. Is that the question?
Yeah. So essentially, we had Pravin Devas on the podcast the other night. Of course, he's huge in India, and he was talking about the growth of the sport and how they're opening up to international athletes. And it's an exciting time for you to be I guess, re-emerging at that top level of the sport, where those opportunities to travel are now there, and you do feel it's an exciting time for you over the next decade to have those opportunities, maybe travel the world and as part of your wrestling career.
Yeah, 100%. And I could use it also as like me and Ella always talked about going on a holiday at the same time. So everywhere I go, I can go compete, do my thing, and then spend some time with her.
Yeah, that's really cool. And tell us a little bit about Ella, because she seems to have been incredibly supportive of your arm wrestling career so far.
Yeah, I can't do what I do without her. She makes me fed, cooks me dinners, cooks me lunch, keeps me motivated, listens to me when I whinge. Like you can't get better than that.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, it makes a huge difference having that type of support when you're performing at the top
Yeah,
level.
she's pretty strong
So
too as well for what she looks like.
yeah, so you've been getting her more on the well, yeah, she's quite active on the table, isn't she?
Yeah, she comes to trainings when she can. She's very busy with work, but yeah, she's a little bit of a left-hand monster. Very
Oh
strong
well,
hand.
there you go. Well, it's great when you've got a shared passion. She kind of understands, what the sacrifices that you're making when you're traveling around the country and being a part of these big events. So tell us a little bit about your plans. You're mentioning you've got a super match coming up very, very shortly against Gary. Is that right?
Yeah, yep. We go against Gary. Do you guys
Yep.
follow him? Like he's been last couple of years. He's been killing it at nationals and.
I've heard. What's the surname again?
Consted. I don't even know how to say it. He
I've
just
heard.
lost the Rhett at the 80 kilo national, 90 kilo or something. He was in the finals.
Great.
Okay.
And can people watch this matchup?
Yeah, it'll be on the Sydney Spartan arm wrestling YouTube. Not sure if it's going to be live or it's going to be like a playback because we're trying to do a bit better quality. So I'm not 100% sure.
Fantastic. So people will be able to check that out by going over to Sydney Spartans, all their socials, and certainly subscribe and follow and make sure you're not missing a match because, you've got some pretty notable names there at the Sydney Spartans as well. Mario Tambarkas, Lachlan Carpenter, some of the biggest names of the sport called Sydney Spartans home.
Yep, Boncatado, Oz, Adam Laura, yeah.
The list goes on.
The biggest ones, Josh Barker.
Not by calf size, but by every other measure.
Yeah. Keep the long pants on.
And so we've got the match against Gary. People can check that out by Sydney Spartans. And as you move towards the end of the year, what would you like? What would you like to see? You did mention you've got a name in mind that you wouldn't mind setting your sights on.
International stage, I'd like Hunter Knopfs. And from Australia, I'd probably like to go through all the weight classes, 70, 80, 90, and try to be the top dog in all of them, just to clear up some talk that's been happening around Australia.
There you go. So once you finish mopping up around the country, you're going to head overseas and seek some glory in the US as well, which sounds like a fine plan for 2025. Hollywood Matt Connelly, some comments and final thoughts before we go away.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had a couple of interesting ones here from Mr. Peanut. As I said, he is the expert on arm wrestling history, and he's given us a bit of a history lesson here about check out the Hawaii history of arm wrestling Makahiki games. Ume is prone arm wrestling taught in Hawaiian public schools as part of history, and then he says that
fantastic.
Yeah, there was this gentleman here, the arm wrestling champion who became the king. Hawaiians believe that his birth fulfilled the prophecy that foretold the birth of a male child who would become king. And then he finishes with the fact that he overturned a stone which weighed 5,000 pounds.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Well, he'd have some side pressure.
Just a bit. Not as much as Josh Barker, but still.
No.
We've got Fox 8 Ball in the chat here as well. Always great to see Fox 8 Ball. I think he's upset at Phil Woody for some reason. I don't know why, but whatever. Charles Puri has jumped in. He says every great arm wrestler has a stronger woman as his backbone. So
yeah, shout out to Tez as well, who joined us on the podcast last week. So yeah, and Hollywood, final thoughts before we go away.
Yeah, always great to see Josh, and anyone who talks about the lighter classes in Australia, we get this question quite regularly from international promoters. So, have you got anybody in that weight class? The first person I say is Josh Parker, because like this guy at under 70 kilos is definitely untouchable, and we'd love to see you get bigger and better opportunities throughout this year and next as well.
Absolutely. Josh Parker, you're an absolute weapon. We can't wait to see what you're doing now as you start creeping towards 80 kilos and seek to take them all out under 90 kilos in the country before you head away for international glory. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast, Josh, and wishing you all the very, very best for 2025 and beyond.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. It's been awesome.
Thanks, guys.